Hello, my name is Reannán O'Donnell. Some people find that a bit hard to say, but that's my name. I'm 19 years old and I'm from County Tyrone. So firstly, I'd like to apologise in advance for all the grammar mistakes that I'm about to make. But in fairness to me, English isn't my first language. I grew up in a Catholic family who went to Mass every Sunday and prayed the Rosary almost every evening. I'm the youngest of 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. Our parents raised us with Irish, which I couldn't be any more grateful for, but it still to this day causes me to spontaneously forget the Our Father or the Hail Mary in English, or to only be able to think of a certain word in Irish and not in English. All I'll say is, thank God there isn't an English oral exam in the Leaving Cert. Anyway, when I was around 6 years old, my father and my sister started to get more into their faith when they discovered the Sacred Heart House of Prayer that was about 20 minutes away from our house. They started going there for prayer meetings, and this in turn made my whole family take our faith more seriously. I often went with my father and sister to those prayer meetings, and I enjoyed them because other people brought their children, which meant that we could go and play outside. But not only did I look forward to going to play outside, there was something about these prayer meetings that intrigued me. I really enjoyed the music ministry and the praise and worship element of these meetings. My sister discovered an event called U2000 when she was about 17. So U2000 is an event for young Irish Catholics where they can grow in their faith and meet other young people, young Catholics, and form friendships with them. So I remember my sister coming back from her first U2000 event, and she was on an absolute Jesus high. She kept on talking about it and wouldn't stop talking about her friends that she made and all the young people who were there. So this really inspired me, and I saw that there had been a fire lit in her, and I knew that it was what I wanted in my life. So growing up, I was never embarrassed or ashamed of my faith. I was actually quite proud of it, and I always tried my best to defend it. I never hid my Catholic identity, and I always wore a crucifix out and about or at school. I remember being asked by a teacher on multiple occasions to put my crucifix in under my jumper, but between my stubbornness and my genuine love for the faith and for Jesus, I always refused to hide my Catholicism. I think it was my brother's conversion when he was around 17 years old that inspired me to take my own faith more seriously. Seeing him go from being one of those lads to loving Jesus made me realise that the faith wasn't just for grannies and weird people. He was a big GAA lad with a well-earned reputation of being skilled in hurling, football and handball. He enjoyed going for nights out, and it was always one of the popular ones amongst his friends. After an injury that he got from playing hurling, he was diagnosed with arthritis and sciatica in his back and hips. So that basically meant that the joints in his spine were starting to merge together and solidify. So he was told that he would likely never play any sports again. So after looking for healing in lots of different places, he gradually got worse until he surrendered completely to God. So long story short, by God's grace, he's now completely healed. Seeing this unfold and seeing him experience all this deepened my trust and faith in God. Before his conversion, he was always jokingly making fun of our sister for her faith and taking her faith seriously and trying to put God before all else. And then there he was, choosing to go to Mass instead of going to a hurling match or choosing not to make sports his number one priority. Even seeing him leaving a conversation or something to go upstairs to pray, or waking up earlier and making time for his prayer life, it was a major factor that helped me on my own faith journey. I started going to U2000 festivals with my brother and sister when I was about 14. I was too young to stay on site, so I could only go during the day. But I still had great crack at all these U2000 events, and mostly because of all the crack that was at them, but I also really liked listening to different people's testimonies. It was a part of them that I really enjoyed. I remember on my way to Youth 2000 festivals, I always hoped and prayed that I would have one of those testimony moments, an experience that would lead me to a deeper, more intimate spiritual life, or that I would have some sort of revelation that all those people who shared their testimonies had, but I never did, or at least not in the way that I thought I might. So as time went on, I never necessarily fell away from my faith. I just never had the initiative to take the next step and to develop my own personal relationship with Jesus. I still went to Mass with my family every Sunday and on feast days. We still prayed the rosary on the way somewhere in the car, but my own personal prayer life was pretty much non-existent, apart from when I needed or wanted something. Because I come from a Catholic family, I would often see family members go up to the prayer room in our house. Yes, we have a prayer room. When they went up, they would spend some time in prayer, and it was always a constant reminder to me that it was something that I should also be doing. I often thought that I should start spending time in personal prayer every day, and my immediate reaction to that thought was, oh, sure, that's something I can do at Lent. So I just kept on pushing it back and never taken the next step of actually doing it. But eventually, one Lent, I finally took the initiative to start praying every day, and I definitely felt that my relationship with Jesus deepened. Unfortunately, after Lent, I fell back into my old habits and I stopped taking time for my daily prayer. During the lockdown of 2020, I started to get really interested in politics. I felt that Christianity was being challenged a lot more in the media, and I felt that it was my place to defend it. I began to do a lot of research. I enjoyed learning about social issues and what the Catholic stance on these issues was. As I started to investigate these topics more, I found Catholic apologists that I liked and that I got a lot out of their talks. I gradually got more and more into Catholic teachings and why we believe what we believe. A desire grew in me to learn about my faith, rather than just accepting everything that I was told. When I started researching more and more, I found myself lost in a rabbit hole. I was getting caught up in details of arguments rather than recognizing who it was that I was trying to defend with my arguments. God was taking more of a back seat in my life, and politics was beginning to become more important to me. While still in lockdown, I was going to outdoor and drive-in masses with my family. These were similar to drive-in cinemas, but in the context of Mass, so way better. And no, they were not drive-through masses. We actually participated in the liturgy. But having our religious freedom and our right to worship stripped away from us led me to appreciate the sacraments a lot more than I did before. They had become something that we had to seek out and fight for. I started to recognize the richness and the value of the Catholic Church. Being deprived of the sacraments gave me a longing for them and hunger for the faith. After I finished secondary school, I went on to study engineering in the University of Galway. I had to move away from home, which meant I no longer had my parents dragging me to Mass by the scruff of my neck. I'm only joking, that almost never happened. I finally had to make the decision to make my faith my own. And thankfully I did. I joined the Catholic Society in the university and became a treasurer of the committee. I went to prayer meetings in front of the Blessed Sacrament. I went to Mass and confessions by myself. I was beginning to make an effort to build a relationship with God again. Coming to the end of my first year at university, I knew that it wasn't where I was meant to be. I didn't want to be there, and I didn't think that it was where God wanted me to be either. I wasn't enjoying my course, and I had no interest in continuing with it. I heard that there was a regional Youth 2000 retreat on after 2 years of not having any retreats because of lockdowns. So I was just after breaking up with my girlfriend, and I went to that retreat with her the next day. I will admit it was a wee bit awkward. At that retreat, I was just more open to God's guidance in my life. I was only after a breakup. I had just finished my lectures for the year, and my exams were slowly creeping up on me. Like I said, I had no desire to follow on with the course, but I had no idea what else I wanted to do instead. There were lots of mixed emotions that weekend. At that retreat, I spent loads of time in adoration. I stayed up late at night in adoration. I got up in the middle of the night for adoration. I woke up early in the morning for adoration. That's a whole pile of adoration. Over that weekend, a past member of Holy Family Mission was given his testimony. When I heard the mention of Holy Family Mission, I was immediately intrigued. I'd heard about it before and knew people who went, but I never considered doing it myself. I thought I'd finish secondary school, go to uni, get a job, get married, and have a family. But then, there God was, flipping my whole life plan on its head. But like the saying goes, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. So after that retreat, I went home. I researched Holy Family Mission and saw that they were taking applications. So I applied, and I'm halfway through a year here. It made it a lot easier to break the news to my parents that I was dropping out of university when I could tell them that I was going to do something Jesus-y instead. So far, I'm loving Holy Family Mission. I love the community life and the academic aspects of it, but most importantly, I love how much time we get to spend with Jesus in the Eucharist every day, whether that be in adoration or at the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass. I still have a lot of growing to do, but I'm so glad that I'm in an environment that supports and allows that growth to happen. As you can see, I'm not one of those holy people who had a dramatic divine encounter. I'm very far from it. But I did begin to feel God working in my life, which is something that always went unnoticed to me. There wasn't anything that actually changed at that U2000 retreat, except for the disposition of my heart and my openness to God's guidance and grace. Gurmila Maigav, thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to me, and I ask that you keep me and the mission of Holy Family in your prayers, and I will be praying for you. Cushgan Jareth.